Hello and thank you for joining me for another edition of Insider Tips. Today I'm going to talk about a new search engine ranking report that was just recently released. There's a company called Moz, and Moz puts out an industry survey every couple of years that is basically the results of a questionnaire that's sent out to a lot of the higher end, the very popular search engine experts throughout the industry. And what it does is it seeks out insights and information that may help individuals figure out how to better tune up their websites so they perform better. The new 2015 report was recently released, and in it I found 7 quick topics that I'd like to cover with you today. So let's jump in. The first topic has to do with content and the length of content. Actually, if your content is too thin, it's viewed as a negative. So the action item here is I would recommend that you go back and look through your blog post and look through your on-page content there on the website. And if you have a page that only has maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs at most, consider revising that, maybe adding a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, so that you have a decent length of content. Obviously looking for opportunities to use your primary keyword, as well as establishing some inbound links to other website pages and other blog posts that you've already posted. The second tip has to do with your title tags, and many of us have discussed title tags before. These are basically the page contents, the table of contents for Google and the other search engines. So if you look at title tags that are duplicated throughout the website, that can also be a negative. What you want to do is look at the title tags for each individual page of your website, and that's very easy to do on a Mac, and a PC is just a couple of extra clicks and you can find that. But if you find that the firm name is repeated or the same phrase is repeated numerous times, you really want to add some diversity to those topics. A good title tag is obviously going to have a geographic element, it's going to have a topical element, and usually the word lawyer or attorney. So I mean, it's pretty simple, but again, there is a certain character length in terms of the number of spaces available that Google now is looking for. So pay attention to your title tags, and if you need help, I'd be very happy to do a quick analysis with you. The third topic had to do with bounce rate. And what bounce rate is if you go to an individual web page and you look at it very quickly and decide, no, that's not what I'm looking for, and you bounce off of that page, the quicker you do that, the more of a negative impact it can actually have for that page's performance throughout the search engines. What Google wants to find is good quality content that people spend a little bit of time reviewing and thinking about before they move on to other pages within the website. Now, as you're going to see here in just a second, a lot of these tips are actually interrelated. So keep in mind, bounce rate's important. So how you structure your page, do you have good images there? Do you have page breaks that could be additional subheadings, bullet points, things like that make your page visually interesting? If so, you've got a better chance of keeping someone on your page just a little bit longer, and that can actually decrease your overall bounce rate. The fourth factor I want to talk about is the uniqueness of content. What we find is that when a topic has been addressed multiple times within the actual overall structure of the website or the blog, it tends to limit your ability to perform better. What you want to do is again have a wide diversity of related topics, and that makes your site a lot more relevant. It also gives you a great opportunity to link those pages internally using anchor text or hyperlinks, going from page to page and tying all that information together, which is not only helpful for the search engine, but also useful to the actual reader. So again, make sure that you've got good content that's built out, but also that is a variety. There's always a nuance, there's always a different take you can add, so don't be afraid to do that. More content is obviously better. The fifth factor has to do with actually the freshness of content. And if you've been working with me for any time, you know that I'm a big fan of blogs and other ways of adding content to the actual website. The reason is if you have a site that is grown relatively stale over time, it hasn't really been kept up, it hasn't really been maintained, Google deems that as being less relevant. Now, this one's been around for a while, but it's something that you can address right from your office. And the nice thing is really adding blog posts, tuning up a few pages here and there, revising a few of your core pages. It's relatively easy, very low cost, and might actually have a high impact. So, again, as you look at the content, if you're blogging, make sure you're doing it consistently. If you can't get around to it, don't be afraid to enlist the help of somebody else who can actually do a couple of blog posts that you can then upload to your site, to your blog, and that overall is going to have an impact on the website. Now, these last two that I want to address, really come back to something we've talked about in the past. If you're looking to affect bounce rate, one of the areas that you can address very, very quickly is whether or not you're actually using images on those individual pages. The nice thing about an image is it becomes visually interesting. It dresses up the page, and it may actually catch my eye and keep me there just a little bit longer. Again, we are trying to lengthen that time during which you actually land on the page and then you eventually leave. So having a visual image is a big help. But here's another factor. If you actually open up the image itself, there is something called an alt tag, and that's really what tells Google what that image is about. An alt tag is also a great help for SEO because now that picture, that image, can actually be indexed. So it's another reason to include images on your website. It's called rich media, so it's media that's in a different format other than just normal page content. The final area has to do, once again, as you guessed it, video. Video is another form of rich content. Now, obviously, we'd like to optimize those videos and having them show up in Google results to basically draw people back to the website, but there's another advantage. If that video is nested on a particular page or a series of pages, the advantage is if I go to that page as a new viewer, there's a good chance that I'm going to click that play button and remain on that page for a period of time. So again, adding rich media, whether it be static images or whether it be something more interactive like a video, actually has not just an SEO advantage, but an on-page advantage. So those are basically 7 of the overall search engine rankings factors that Moz has reported on. There are many more. Some of them are highly technical. Some of them, even I didn't understand. But these are the simple things that you and I can address right there in your office. I want to thank you once again for spending a few minutes with me on Insider Tips, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's edition. If you have any ideas, if you have any questions, anything that you'd like to discuss, by all means, give me a quick call, 502-208-9639, or send me a quick email, jimray4@gmail.com. Thanks again. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again next week right here on Insider Tips. Bye-bye.